Hi, I'm Richard Tomlin, formerly Captain, United States Marine Corps. Served from 1957 to 1964. And this is my grandson, Lance Corporal Matthew Tomlin, who recently completed recruit training at Parris Island and trained in 29 Palms, and is back here with us now to continue his education and complete his reserve requirements.
Yes, sir. Yeah, like you said, I'm Lance Corporal Tomlin, United States Marine Corps, MOS 2841, ground radio repair electrician. I'm COM. I'm stationed right on the left side of Gandy with the United States Marine Corps Reserve unit. It's an Amtrak unit. We have amphibious assault vehicles, and my job and duty is to make sure that the COM is up and running in those vehicles and that all the men can talk to each other and get out there and get back safe.
This is my husband, Edmund Wormwald. He served 6 years for our country during the Vietnam War, and we miss him very terribly, so we come out every Memorial Day to say hi. So thank you very much, and God bless America.
This is Cody. He's a therapy dog at the VA.
How long has Cody's been doing this?
He's been doing it about 6 months.
6 months. Okay. Any special training?
He's a fully trained bird dog.
Okay.
He goes and he fetches up birds and toys.
Uh-huh. And how do the veterans in the VA respond to him?
They love him. Matter of fact, they're waiting for their water right now.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time and effort, what you're doing, and have a happy Memorial Day.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay.
See you later.
Okay, bye-bye, Cody.
Take care now.
You too.
Yes, my name is Robert. I'm here for the memorial services at the VA hospital in St. Petersburg. Too bad we only do this once a year. We should do it more often. And we appreciate everybody coming out here and helping us say a prayer for those that have fallen. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Jeff Brandis. I'm honored to be here with you all today, remembering the sacrifices of our brave men and women around the world in service of our great country. Thank you. It's truly an honor to be with you.
To be here with you today. I come from a military family and am proud of the service that goes back generations. My father, who served more than 20 years in the Air Force, is laid to rest right here at Bay Pines. My grandfather, a Purple Heart recipient, served in the Marines. My other grandfather in the Navy. One uncle served in the Army, was a Bronze Star and Purple Heart recipient. Another uncle in the Marines. I have cousins in the National Guard deployed right now. My thoughts and prayers are with them and with you today as we all extend gratitude to those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. We will officially start today's program with a performance by the Clearwater High School JROTC Silent Drill Team. I ask that the audience please remain seated for the performance so that those seated in the back guests, if you are able to stand for opening ceremonies, please do so. Commander, please post the colors.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Healthcare System for remarks. Ms. Clinker was appointed as the Director of Bay Pines VA Healthcare System in May of 2012 with dedication to the organization's I-CARE values of integrity, commitment, advocacy, respect, and excellence. She oversees healthcare delivery for the entire organization, which includes 1 large medical center, 8 outpatient clinics, and 4,000 employees.
Good morning, and thank you, Ms. Eichmann, for that very kind introduction. Ms. Betts, Mr. Arnold, Congressman Jolly, Lieutenant General Steele, members of veteran service organizations, distinguished guests, our veterans, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and privilege to be here with you today as we recognize and celebrate Memorial Day. I ask all veterans in the audience to stand or raise your hand to be recognized. Thank you for your service to this great nation, and thank you to the families of America's veterans for the sacrifices you have made as well. Please be seated. I also extend a special thank you to Vietnam veterans and their loved ones for being with us today. The nation is currently commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. By presidential proclamation, the commemoration extends from Memorial Day 2012 through Veterans Day 2025. Through this commemoration, we intend to offer the thanks of our nation to the nearly 50,000 Vietnam veterans enrolled for healthcare services throughout the Bay Pines VA healthcare system. Special commemorative lapel pins were distributed to Vietnam veterans prior to the start of today's event. If you are a Vietnam veteran and did not receive a pin, you may receive one following today's activities near the tables located along the circle. Families of warriors also serve on the home front and in the hearts of their loved ones who are on the front lines. The nation's loss of your husband, wife, son, daughter, grandparent, aunt, or uncle, anyone dear to you whom we honor today, is a deeper loss to you, and we are grateful for your sacrifice. Cemeteries across the nation and around the world are dedicated to brave Americans cut down in their prime, doing what American soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and Coast Guardsmen do without question, stepping in harm's way between the forces of tyranny and aggression in America and its freedom-loving citizens. On this Memorial Day, we remember the dead, yet for those of us in the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, it is also very much about the living. It's about the 23 million veterans living, working, and contributing to our society today. In serving those who have served us all, we honor those who gave their full measure, with integrity, commitment, advocacy, respect, and excellence, duly offered on behalf of a free and grateful nation. And in doing so, we will take our place in the long line of Americans who have understood that it is altogether fitting and proper to pay tribute to those who have secured the blessings of liberty for our nation. I end my remarks today with a quote from President John F. Kennedy. "A nation reveals itself not only by the men it produces, but also by the men it honors, the men it remembers." Thank you, and please enjoy the rest of the ceremony.
Please welcome now Director in the Administration of Non-Medical Benefit Programs to assist nearly 1.6 million veterans and their families residing in the state of Florida. These programs include disability compensation, vocational rehabilitation, and employment and loan guarantee. Prior to appointment in 2015, Ms. Betts served as the Director of the Honolulu VA Regional Office, Assistant Director of the Middle Regional Office, and Assistant Director of the Waco Regional Office. Ms. Betts.
Lieutenant General Steele, Congressman Jolly, Mrs. Klinkler, Mr. Arnold, members of veterans service organizations, distinguished guests, veterans, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to be here with you this morning. More than a century and a half ago, the American statesman Daniel Webster penned a fitting tribute to generations of Americans in It is this responsibility we are proud and privileged. Your family members, neighbors, co-workers, and yet many more will not be forgotten. Nations around the world, defending freedom and democracy. To do any less, to not remember, would defile the hopes and dreams of those we honor today. Thank you.
Next, please welcome Mr. Rudy Arnold, Assistant Director at Bay Pines National Cemetery. Mr. Arnold was appointed as Assistant Director for the Bay Pines National Cemetery in August of 2014. In this role, he is responsible for assisting the Director with all burial, maintenance, and administrative operations at the cemetery. Mr. Arnold is also a veteran, having served in the Ohio National Guard for 10 years. In 2004, he was activated for a 15-month deployment in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Good morning and welcome. As mentioned, my name is Rudy Arnold, and it is my honor to be entrusted with these hallowed grounds. First, I would like to thank Congressman Jolly, General Steele, for being with us today. I'd also like to say a special word of thanks to our partners at the Bay Pines VA Hospital and the St. Petersburg Regional Office. Their support not only today, but throughout the year in assisting us in maintaining this national shrine. I would also like to take this opportunity to recognize our volunteers and staff of the National Cemetery. It's not often I get the chance to thank them publicly for what they do for our veterans and their families throughout the year. That was exactly 148 years ago. And today we come together as a community in one of 134 national cemeteries to remember our heroes. At our national cemeteries, and at Bay Pines National Cemetery in particular, it is often stated that every day is Memorial Day. And this may sound cliche, but it is so true. Dependents were interred here at Bay Pines. And as we know, when time passes, the memory of these heroes begins to fade, and the visitations become less frequent. But because of people like you, the volunteers of this amazing community, they will never be forgotten. If you look behind me, there is a flag on every gravesite, over 36,000. And it truly is a magnificent sight. But it is more than...
Pleasure to introduce U.S. Representative David Jolly. Representative Jolly represents Florida's 13th Congressional District, which covers most of Pinellas County. He was first elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in March of 2014 on Veterans Health Care, Representative Jolly has been a leader in the ongoing fight to protect and provide for our nation's veterans. Congressman likewise made it a commitment and priority of his office to assist the many veterans of Pinellas County with benefit claims and other casework matters that can be critical to the quality of life for those who have served our nation in uniform. The Honorable David Jolly.
Hey, thank you all very much. It's just a great day to call yourself an American. As I said at church yesterday, if this doesn't make your heart swell with pride, you gotta get your heart checked out. And we're just a place to do that, so stop by on your way out. Many of you will recall from your textbooks and from grade school, the Memorial Day was not formally recognized until the 1880s. You will recall Captain Nathan Hale as a captain in the Continental Army who was on an intelligence mission, captured by the British, and ultimately executed. And you will recall his final sentiment was that he regretted he only had but one life to give to his country. We read about Captain Hale in textbooks. We see statues. But that blue for the vigilance, the perseverance, and the justice for which our entire nation now stands. Sewn together forever, declaring to the world the basic principles of freedom and democracy upon which the greatest nation in the world was established. From Bunker Hill to the Western Front to Guadalcanal, from the Chosin Reservoir to the tip of Florida. They were celebrating 150 years as a church. And the pastor asked the congregation, what can you do today that will have an impact 150 years?
Next, please welcome our keynote speaker for today's event, U.S. Marine Corps Lieutenant Governor retired Martin R. Steele. Born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and raised in Fayetteville, Arkansas, Lieutenant General Steele enlisted in the Marine Corps in January of 1965. He rose from private to three-star general, culminating his military career as the Deputy Chief of Staff for plans, policies, and operations at headquarters, U.S. Marine Corps in Washington, D.C. In August of 1999, a decorated combat veteran with 34 and a half years of service, to include service in Vietnam, he is recognized expert in integration of all elements of national power with strategic military war plans, and has served as executive strategic planner policy director in multiple theaters across Asia. His extraordinary career was chronicled as one of three principals in the award-winning military biography Boys of 67 by Charles Jones. Currently, General Steele serves as the Associate Vice President for Veterans Research, the Executive Director of Military Partnership, and co-chair of the Veterans Reintegration Steering Committee at the University of South Florida here in Tampa. In 2015, he was appointed to the newly established Independent Commission on Care to undertake a comprehensive evaluation and assessment of access of veterans to health care from the VA, and strategically examine how best to organize the Veterans Health Administration, locate health care resources, and deliver health care to veterans during the next 20 years. The commission is made up of 15 voting members selected by Congress and the President. Please welcome Lieutenant General Steele.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eichmann, for that very kind introduction. I, like everyone here today, am extremely honored, humbled, and privileged to be with you on this Memorial Day to honor those who have paid the supreme sacrifice in the defense of our great country. Congressman Jolly, other members who are on the dais, all of you present today, this is a very sacred place. This is a very sacred day. As Rudy alluded to in his remarks, this was first observed on this date in 1868. Memorial Day was originally called Decoration Day. Flowers are placed on both Union and Confederate soldiers' graves at Arlington National Cemetery. There are many stories of its actual beginnings, with over 24 cities in our great nation, claiming to be the birthplace of Memorial Day. My first recollection was as a small boy in Arkansas in the 1950s, when I visited our national cemetery on this date with my stepfather, an Army Air Corps P-47 Thunderbolt pilot who was a prisoner of war during World War II, while wearing an artificial red poppy like I'm wearing today that was made by disabled veterans in my hometown. That solemn, sacred experience has held with me to this day today. Throughout our history, traditional observance like our gathering here in this beautiful, serene setting where 36 magnificent men and women are interred at Bay Pines has diminished. Many Americans have forgotten the meaning and traditions of Memorial Day. In 2000, the National Monument of Remembrance resolution was passed, which asked that at 3 p.m. local time for all Americans to, quote, voluntarily and informally observe in their own way a moment of remembrance and respect, pausing from whatever they are doing for a moment of silence or listening to taps. Your presence this morning serves as a hopeful reminder that our men and women in uniform who have died in the defense of our great nation will never, ever be forgotten. Sociologists, led by Robert Bellah, often make the argument that Americans have a secular, civil religion, one with no association with any religious denomination or viewpoint, that has incorporated Memorial Day as a sacred event in our country. Furthermore, our American traditions include an obligation to honor the sacrifices made by our nation to earn the freedoms in our nation. At Gettysburg, President Lincoln said, quote, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they have the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. That hope has continued through wars too numerous to count, to include the Korean War, which is now known in our nation as the Forgotten War, where over 36,000 Americans paid the supreme sacrifice. Your presence again ensures that these dead, estimated at now over 1.1 million in the history of our magnificent republic, shall not have died in vain, and again will never be forgotten. Just recently, our current Commander-in-Chief, President Barack Obama, visited both Vietnam and Hiroshima, Japan. Reminders of devastating wars and loss of life, and how once again fierce enemies can somehow become new partners. In a recent op-ed piece, 3 veterans of Vietnam, Secretary of State John Kerry, Senator John McCain, and former Senator and Vietnam Medal of Honor recipient Bob Curry, discussed that war's lessons learned. They indicated that although there are few easy answers about what lessons were learned from the Vietnam War, we must never confuse a war with its warriors. Furthermore, they stated that our nation's leaders need to be honest with the American people about our plans, our goals, and strategy when the lives of our fighting men and women are put to risk. Over 58,000 Americans lost their lives in that war in Vietnam, and honoring them, we need to learn that lesson, which we are still struggling with today. Our president's trip to Hiroshima, the site where 140,000 Japanese lost their lives in the first atomic bomb dropped by the United States on 6 August 1945, has raised discussion again about both the appropriateness of that event and the need for an apology. Who would have thought we would have the relationships we now have with Japan just 60 or 71 years after the end of World War II? No apology was requested, nor one delivered. The President stated, "We come to mourn the dead, not only the Japanese men and women and children, but also thousands of Koreans and a dozen Americans who are being held prisoner." He said, quote, "Their souls speak to us. They ask us to look inward, to take stock of who we are and what we might have become." My stepfather, who had been a POW in Stalag Luft I in Barth, Germany, was repatriated when the Germans unconditionally surrendered and was preparing to be a part of the U.S. invasion force into mainland Japan, where we estimated that the U.S. casualties could be somewhere between 40,000 to as high as over 1 million. My dad always thought it would be around 500,000 casualties had President Truman not dropped the 2 bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. To my dad, President Harry Truman was our nation's greatest president for making that decision. If he were alive today, he would echo my comments as we stopped our losses at over 406,000 killed during World War II. As an aside, my stepfather, I never knew my blood father, died in a VA hospital in my hometown in Fayetteville, Arkansas, at exactly 11 a.m. on 11 November in 1995. No more fitting time and place. In his award-winning book, The Savage Wars of Peace, Small Wars and the Rise of American Power, highly acclaimed author Max Boot divided our wars into 3 distinct periods of United States history. Period 1, the period of commercial power, late 1700s to the 1890s. Period 2, the period of great power, 1898 to 1941. And period 3, the period of superpower, 1941 to the present. The one theme that emerges from his book is that though the reasons have changed over the years, the United States has always found itself being drawn into these savage wars of peace. Our strategic situation today presents more opportunities than ever before for such entanglements. Max Boot wrote these prophetic words after 9/11/2001 in 2002, but before our invasion into Iraq in 2003, and before over more than 6,600 additional men and women paid the supreme sacrifice during our very savage wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and those deaths continue today. Why wars? We have many, many other tools, diplomatic, economic, and cultural, to help shape the international environment to our liking as a superpower. We undertook small wars in the 1990s to help shape the international environment in ways conducive to our ideals in Somalia, Haiti, Bosnia, Kosovo, and after 9/11, with the attacks on our nation in America, we waged those conflicts with a more direct protection of the citizens of our country. Just as the horrendous events of Pearl Harbor on 7 December 1941 united, rallied, and inspired our nation to preserve our way of life, the horrendous events of September 11, 2001 united, rallied, and inspired a new generation of volunteers to risk their lives to preserve our way of life. For 14 years, those 3 million volunteers have seen nothing but war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Recently, retired Marine General and friend of mine, General Jim Mattis, told his warriors when they were going into battle in those wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, quote, "You signed blank checks payable with your lives to the American people," unquote. None wanted to die. Perhaps few expected to die, but selflessly, all were willing to die for their fellow soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines to preserve our way of life when they signed those blank checks. Today, we honor all our fallen war heroes, the men and women we fought with side by side. We remember their young faces, just as if we were with them only yesterday. Our friends, our sons and daughters, our brothers and sisters, husbands and wives, grandparents and parents and aunts and uncles, and our cousins. We mourn with their families. We memorialize and honor them with our living presence here today, knowing we are as close as we can get to them on this very hallowed day in this very sacred place. For me, it is another opportunity to honor my hero, Staff Sergeant Carl G. Taylor, United States Marine Corps, a mentor, husband, father, and the finest Marine I ever served with in almost 35 years that I had the privilege to wear the uniform of a United States Marine. I was a young 19-year-old corporal, having just returned from my first tour of duty in Vietnam, and was stationed at Officers Candidate School at Quantico, Virginia, when he came into my life. He was almost larger than life. He took me under his wing for a reason known but to God. He mentored me daily, sometimes for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, sometimes for 30 minutes. We'd walk in the woods. He would talk to me about life, about leadership, about what it is to be selfless, about what it is to be in the profession of arms. He spoke with a lisp. Probably couldn't even get in the Marine Corps today because of this speech impediment, which I thought was from birth. And I later found out it was because when he was a small boy at the age of 4, he pulled a dog off his younger brother, who was only 3, and the dog turned on him and clamped on his face, destroying his palate, creating a condition that he carried with him the rest of his life as he spoke. He nurtured me. I had an appointment to attend the Naval Academy at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty while serving as a company gunnery sergeant during Operation Meade River in the Republic of Vietnam on the night of 8 December 1968. Of those that they get to see in the 36,000 graves that are here. God bless the leadership of our country like Congressman Jolly. It's no small task as we lead our nation forward in the decisions we have facing us in this very, very challenging time in our country's history. It will require all of us to give nothing but our best, knowing that we owe it. Knowing that we owe it to those selfless volunteers who, when called, will go into harm's way to cash those blank checks. God bless you all. God bless this sacred place. God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Steele. Your service to our nation and commitment to our veterans and active duty service members is unparalleled and inspiring. Thank you. Now, please welcome back to the podium Ms. Nicole Davids for a special musical performance of God Bless America. And when the performance starts, Lieutenant General Steele, accompanied by cadets from Gibbs High School, will participate in the official procession to place the wreath of remembrance on the ceremony monument. They will remain at the monument after the wreath is presented for the remainder of the program.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless you all.
The love of God go with them this day and forever. Father, as we bring this meeting to a close, let us depart in peace, love, and thanksgiving with one another. Let us be joined together in the common goal of service to our nation and to our God. And let us consecrate our hearts and lives to the ideals and principles and hopes of those whom we honor and who have served faithfully and who are now in rest. May the Lord bless us and keep us. May the Lord make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto him. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. God bless you. Thank you.
Aim! Fire! Aim! Fire! Aim! Fire!
I'm ready for your wedding.
Thank you.